Kelsey Snyder. Today I'm going to be talking about an influential woman who had a distinct sound, Miss Sarah Vaughan. Sarah Vaughan was born in Newark, New Jersey, to two parents who were musicians themselves. They had J jobs, of course. Her dad was a carpenter while her mom was a laundress. But the Sarah Vaughan was able to gain inspiration from her musician parents, and she practiced the piano and the organ, and she could be found playing in these instruments at her church, Mount Zion Church. At age 19 in 1943, she was at the Apollo Theater while a voice competition was going on, and her friends, not her parents, had dared her to go up on stage and to perform a song for the competition. And she ended up winning this competition with her own rendition of Body and Soul. And it was from there that another vocalist, Billy Eckstine, didn't recognize her, but discovered her and encouraged Earl Hines, who was a band leader who had his own band, to hire her as a vocalist for his orchestra. So a year later, she was officially joined into Eckstine's band, and in 1946, she became inspired by a saxophonist, Charlie Parker, who was a part of Eckstine's band and who had kind of introduced the band to bebop style. And she was so inspired by this that she decided to break off into her own career, into a soloist career, and she started singing bebop. And she had such a way with how she performed on stage, and perhaps even how she carried herself, that she started becoming known as sassy to the band members. And a DJ had called her Divine One, and that name just kind of stuck with her fans. And in 1950, she decided to change her tune and instead started to sing more of pop hits, and we got a few top hits that sold over millions of copies. People loved her pop, and that also shed light to jazz because people would look into other songs she had sang and would realize that she started off as a jazz singer. And so she really brought a lot of attention to jazz. She was married and divorced 4 times. She wasn't able to bear children, so she ended up adopting a little baby girl, which could be seen in the picture up above. She died at age 66 in California, but she was buried back in her hometown in New Jersey at her own church, Mount Zion Church, where she originally started and grew her talent. Now, to focus more on her career, she recalls that she always wanted to imitate the horns. And in a few accounts, I see that the way she wanted to imitate the horns allowed for her to be seen in a different light by the instruments in jazz back when she was working with Earl Hines and Billy Eckstine. And it was because she was able to improvise with the horns. She was able to keep up with them in a way. She was able to just become an instrument herself and work alongside them. And it helped influence how vocalists in jazz bands weren't seen as equals as instrumental or as important as instrumentalists in jazz bands, but she was able to kind of help highlight how if you create your own sound, you can keep up with instruments even in a jazz band. 1947, when she was working on her solo career, she had topped the charts with Tenderly, which I was able to hear, and her voice is she has like a deeper tone. She's able to hit those lower tones, or her pitch is deeper, sorry. And she has such voice control, and the way she performs, I could see how she's known as sassy. She's known as a dramatic performer. I could tell that by watching her performances, because she's able to enunciate the words and kind of create these pauses and dips, and she really creates her own sound in her performances, and it's easy to see why she was so distinct in her career. Because of this kind of bravado, this sassiness she performed with, she was really strong at performing ballads, and I could see that with like just how she carried herself on stage. She's very intimate. Almost, it feels like she's very flirtatious, so it's easy to see how she'd be an amazing at love ballads in particular. Throughout her career, Billy Eckstine and Earl Hines were people she worked with at the beginning of her career, but that kind of just opened the gateway. She started working with other Count Basie, Benny Carter, just to name a few, and even Miles Davis. And her voice really spoke for itself because I've even seen a few comments by greats like Ella Fitzgerald who were recognizing her for her talent. Just to kind of show how influential she was. She was able to be put on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She performed that picture below. She's performing at the White House with Billy Gillespie, another great that she was or legend that she performed alongside of. 1989, she received a Lifetime Achievement Grammy, and in another picture beforehand, there's a stamp that has her picture on it, or a stamp created with her picture on it, and it just shows how influential she was for not only the jazz community but just for the singing industry. She really created a platform for vocalists that if you can create your own sound, keep up with the instrumentalists, and really make it your own, you can become recognizable because she was the divine one in other people's eyes. Sarah Vaughan was very much an influential performer, and watching her is very inspiring for myself, and I really enjoyed looking up into her. That's all I had to say about